Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in the day after we had a huge conversation last night about all the trade targets. So the way this is going to shape up, I wanted to kind of come on here and explain this. Our nightly shows where we can have multiple guests with Austin. You can tell my voice is a little bit shaky here. I'm a little bit sick, so I'm going to do the best I can to explain this, and then I'm going to get to what we're actually going to do on today's show. So I've decided to make the morning shows dedicated to the prospects and to the farm system, and then in the night shows we can use that information about the farm system and tie it into actually how it applies to the major league system and the major league structure. So these afternoon shows, I hope you keep showing up. I love doing them. This is what I love doing the most, is talking about the prospects. And so that's what these morning shows, you're going to get to hear from players, from coaches. And we will do, Austin and I both will do prospect talk on our nightly shows, no doubt about that. But those shows are going to be, again, how they actually tie into, like, for instance, Desire Hope. How does he tie into the Major League club? Well, if you go get like a Stephen Kwan or a Brendan Donovan or somebody like that, that has a timeline that is perfect for, the timeline for a Desire Hope or a Josue De Paula or somebody like that to make it up to the major leagues. That's the tie-in. So what we're going to do in the afternoon shows is that's where we're going to play all of our conversations with the personnel in the system, the players, prospect talk, that kind of thing. Now, Austin and I tonight are going to do Rule 5 draft coverage tonight. So we will do a big show on that. If there's something big like that, then we will cover it there. But I hope you keep showing up to these morning shows. I thoroughly enjoy getting to know these people inside the system. And honestly, if you'll give yourself time to sit down and listen and watch these videos, I think you'll learn. Austin Chubb is the guy we're going to talk to today. Austin Chubb was the manager of the Great Lakes Loons back in 2022. He was Andy Pajes's manager for Andy's first 3 years of his minor league career. And then he transitioned from being an on-field manager to being now the minor league field coordinator. So Austin Chubb goes around to the different affiliates, whether it be Rancho, Great Lakes, Tulsa, or Oklahoma City, and he works with the managers, he works with the players, he hits fungos, he throws batting practice, he's able to give updates to Billy Gasparino, Brandon Gomes, and Andrew Friedman about how each level's doing, maybe certain players. He gets to talk to the coaches, and so he's just kind of that overall roaming coordinator, if you will. And I've said it many different times, an organization like, say, AA Tulsa, they struggled mightily. We talked about this with Austin in the first half of the season. Well, he can go talk to Eric Wedge. He can go talk to, Capono Decker. He can go talk to Blake Galen. He can go talk to Duran Olinger or Cordell Hipolito, all the coaches, and he can say, hey, I am here to show you support. What do you need from the organization? And then Austin Chubb can take that information back to a Billy Gasparino or a Brandon Gomes or an Andrew Friedman, whoever it may be, and he can tell them, hey, Tulsa's struggling. This is what they're telling us they need. This is the support they need. And so, to be honest with you, the role of somebody like that can go around and roam to different locations and really hone in on exactly what each organization or each level the organization needs at any one given time is huge. Plus, Austin Chubb, zero ego, great dude. Whenever you talk to him, whenever he's a part of a transaction you may be having with him, you never feel like you're getting judged. You feel like he's just there to support you. So I'm going to tell you point blank, he's not going to tell you quite as much about maybe the individual personnel. We're getting ready to talk to Chris Gutierrez, the third base coach and infield coach for AAA Oklahoma City. I'm going to talk to the pitching coach of AAA Oklahoma City, Dave Anderson. I'm going to talk to Dickie Joe Thon tonight. I'm going to talk to Sean Coyne, the pitching coach at Great Lakes. Going to talk to Eric Wedge, the manager of Tulsa. We have plenty of opportunities to get into specific personnel. What I wanted to do with Austin Chubb here, though, is I wanted to get into really behind the curtains. How does the system actually work? How does everything fit together to create such an incredible environment, such an incredible culture, and such an incredible system? So with that, not going to waste any more time. We're going to get right to it. and we're going to bring in the Dodgers. This is not live. This is a pre-recorded conversation, so I want to make sure that you knew that. We're going to bring in Austin Chubb. We are going to hear from him. He's going to take you behind the scenes of the Dodgers system. Austin Chubb is the Dodgers minor league on-field coordinator. So without that, here we go. Welcome to Dodgers Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Fans, today we have a very, very, very special guest, one of my favorite young men in the entire Dodgers organization. He had probably my favorite moment in the minor leagues in 2022 when he came back and got the Dayton Dragons ass. Austin Chubb, how you doing, my man? Welcome in.
I'm great. Thanks for having me, man.
I think you guys were down like 8 games to the Dayton Dragons. Of course, you're the greatlakesloons manager. You had Andy Pajes and that whole group that was awesome back then. And you were in Dayton. It was raining. And you just beat their ass for like 8 games in a row. That was like the coolest week or so stretch of baseball. Can you kind of take us back through that when you were managing?
Yeah, I think it was something like we were down 8.5 games with, I think, 13 to go. And just got on a heater there at the end of the first half. And, if you watch any games in the Midwest League, the Loons and the Dragons are somewhat of rivals. So it was a fun season. It was a fun group, and we were able to win that first half. And that was a special memory.
Yeah, Dayton sells out every single game, and they're right on top of you, and they talk the whole time that you're there. And it's just a lot of fun. It's almost like a college environment, isn't it?
Yeah, unbelievable environment. They do a really good job over there. It's a fun place to play and good for our players to be in that, hostile environment.
So I know how competitive you are. So I know you miss the competitive element of being a manager and being in the dugout. But I also know how much you love baseball and getting to touch more than, say, just one group of players in a roster. So take us through your actual title now and then exactly what you do with the Dodgers.
Yeah, so I'm currently our minor league field coordinator. So that just, some of the details of that role, really just helping oversee all of our minor league system, guiding player plans, staff development type plans. And then during spring training, obviously a huge part of that is doing the daily schedule for spring training, working alongside the major league staff. To make those couple months go, and then any other specialized camps that we have. Those are kind of that's kind of the main gist of it. But obviously, throughout a baseball season, a lot of things come up daily. So it's an awesome role, and feel very fortunate to be in.
Is it like, hey, Jose Ramos, can you go work with him in Oklahoma City, or do you get to do that type of thing, or is it just an overall management position?
Yeah, there still is a coaching level. I think it's probably more, or at least the way I view the role, is to just kind of oversee and support our affiliate staffs and our coaches. We obviously have really good people, so we trust them. But yeah, there's still, I'm still whacking a fungo. I'm still throwing BP.
Nice.
Any chance I get to do that stuff, I still want to do it. Like you said, I miss being in the dugout daily, but I do get parts of that when I'm roving throughout the minor leagues during the season.
So you still good with the fungo?
Oh yeah.
So are you pretty, or are you one of those guys that just you're more concerned about the actual ball you hit?
I flip with my front hand.
Okay, front hand.
I know that's maybe not the sexiest way to hit a fungo, but I feel like it's pretty good. We do a lot of live fungo, so I'm good at that. So
yeah. So you're the blue collar guy then. Are you good at the live fungo? That's a pretty cool drill.
Hey, just get it done. That's it, right?
Yeah. So I know you went to college in Florida, SCF, and State College of Florida, and that type of thing. So how in the world did you get connected with the Dodgers? I know we've talked about this before, but kind of bring us back into that conversation.
Yeah. So played junior college baseball at SCF, then went to Florida Southern, which fortunate enough to get drafted. I was drafted by the Nationals, played a couple years in their system, got released by the Nationals, and then got a call from the Dodgers a few weeks after I was released by the Nationals. Was not expecting that phone call. That was in 2015. So ended up signing a minor league deal with them, went to spring training. Long story short, that year I spent most of the year in Rancho, but played a game in Great Lakes, played a couple games in Oklahoma City, kind of bounced around. We ended up winning the Cal League that year. I sort of transitioned to a player coach during that season, and then got offered a full-time job at the end of that season during instructional league. So it happened really fast. I feel very fortunate, and I'm blessed that, that in the 2015, that was kind of the new regime was coming in. So it was a good time to be in that spot. And they asked me to coach. I think I had pretty good self-awareness at that point. Yeah. I knew I was 26 in A-ball, kind of bouncing around. So knew probably wasn't a big league player. But the organization was just the way they treated people, players, the staff. It kind of just gave me a jolt of energy. And, I never really envisioned coaching in professional baseball. I always thought I knew I wanted to coach. This is years ago. I mean, when I was a teenager, knew I wanted to stay in the game, thought it would probably be in high school or college. So when the Dodgers, asked me to coach, I was like, I was all over it. So that was kind of the short version of that story, but it was awesome, and it happened really fast. So
yeah, super, super, super professional dude that you're looking at here, Austin Chubb, on-field coordinator for the minor league system here with the Dodgers. Super professional, but I know the competitive side of you, Chubb. I've seen it. I know you're not above talking crap, right? So I want to go right to your AAA experience with Oklahoma City. You actually struck out. You got a hit off of Andrew Heaney. I can't remember exactly whether it was a home run or whatever. The Dodgers have brought him back.
It's funny you remember that. Yeah. It was a short-lived experience in AAA, but I think I got 2 knocks off Heaney, and he was a young prospect with the Angels, but obviously a really good arm. And then he's had an awesome career, and we got him back this year, which was cool. I don't even know if he knows who I am, but
yeah. So any gamesmanship, any fun like that? Did you walk up and say, "Hey, dude, I don't know if you remember me, but I got 2 knocks off you on this field about 8 years ago"?
It's funny. I was there, and I think we had a noon game, so that day happened really fast. So I didn't get to catch up with him. I was making a trip to see the Comets, but I didn't really get to talk to him about it. But it was obviously he's a great teammate, and it was good to have him back in the organization.
Okay, where I want to go first here is I want to go to AA Tulsa. And AA Tulsa struggled like crazy for the first part of the season. I mean, it was hard. And Eric Wedge, he was a 2006 Major League Manager of the Year with the Cleveland Guardians. I was fortunate enough to get to see the daily grind. I kept posting about how professional this dude is, Capono and Blake Galen and Duran and all these guys, and Hippolito, the third base coach there. The one thing that they always kept saying, Austin, was throughout all of the struggles, this Dodgers organization was impeccable with the amount of support they gave. They weren't judging us. All they asked was, what do you need? What type of support you need? Super impressive. How important was that, and how much pride do you take in that?
Yeah, I mean, they obviously struggled early on the first half, but obviously we were fortunate enough to get Eric Wedge in the organization. Mm-hmm. I had a chance to talk to him a couple times during the interview process, and I was just thinking, man, if we can get this guy in the organization, that's going to be huge. So we obviously trusted him to go do his thing. And you know what? Sometimes just depending on how things shake out during spring training, could obviously have an effect on what the roster might look like early on, whether it's injuries or, guys going to different levels. So they obviously started out, it was a rough start for them, but we felt good about, in the minor leagues, there's always going to be turnover roster wise. And then later on in the year, they got a couple guys from some trades, and then took off in the second half. So I just was really proud of the staff. Because obviously in the minor leagues, it's not all about winning, but I think we do a good job of balancing the fact that you do want to win, and you want your players to feel those stressful environments, because you want them to win. You want them to win together in the minor league so they can get up, hopefully to LA and do what, our big league team's doing. But, Wedgie and that staff, they were just relentless. They didn't panic. Mm-hmm. We knew they had a good process. So it's kind of just, hey, stay the course. And then it paid off for them, which was really awesome to see.
Everybody on the Rancho staff is awesome, Brandon Bailey and the whole crew. But I got to say, having such a legend like John Shoemaker get to touch these guys first in affiliated baseball, and then having a pitching coach like Ramon Troncoso who has major league experience. He played in the system. He played in Oklahoma City. I just got to think that gives the Dodgers a real big head start on everybody else that early in a player's development. And as a matter of fact, I've talked to I don't know how many guys, 5 years removed from playing from John Shoemaker, that's like the first thing they go to.
Yeah, I mean, obviously to have Shoe, can't say enough, about him as a coach, but as a human being. He's been a mentor to me. My first year coaching, I got to work with him during extended spring training. He obviously kind of showed me the way and showed me how things were supposed to be done. But yeah, having him, now we don't have short season rookie ball anymore after they've cut some teams in the minor league. So that level in low A is a really, really important one. So we feel like just with his skill set, what he means to the organization, he's the perfect guy. There's literally not a better low A manager in baseball. And that's a really hard, challenging job. But we feel like, and then you've got Troncoso, who you mentioned pitched in the postseason for the Dodgers, played 3 years in the Dominican Summer League. So you've got, a couple guys like that in low A. We feel like that pays huge dividends down the road because guys understand how important it is to be a Dodger and the weight of that. So Shoe, obviously, he's a great baseball guy, but his leadership, qualities, and then him being able to push, what it means to be a Dodger is obviously, it's huge for our organization.
Absolutely. I think the teaching somebody to be a Dodger, what it means to be a Dodger is as big as anything. And then it was really cool. I thought you guys did a great job, Jair and Kevin LaChance and that whole group with Great Lakes. They had more top 30 prospects this year in Great Lakes than they'd ever had. And so they had the Josue de Paulas and the Zaire Hopes for most of the season. Eventually the Mike Sirotas, Kendall George, guys like that. Jake Geloff, Cameron Decker, Logan Wagner. I'm going to stop there because I'm going to miss a whole bunch of these guys. And a guy that I think is very underrated, Elijah.
That was pretty good right there.
Yeah. Another guy I think is probably the most underrated, Elijah Hainline. I think he's fantastic, too. He showed that when he came up to Oklahoma City. But I say that to say I thought you guys did a really good job of putting some really good, young, hungry coaches in with those top prospects. And then talk about overqualified. Dickie Joe Thon, who was a Double-A manager just the year before at Corpus Christi, is your freaking bench coach. I mean, come on, man, right?
Yeah, obviously an amazing staff. And then, high A is just, it's such an important level. They're all important, but that's kind of a make or break level where guys can really, if they take that next step, their careers take off. And they're really not, we've seen over the past few years, you're really not, you feel far from the big leagues, but you're really not. It's a really competitive league. And so that, obviously that staff can't say enough good things. Jair's leadership. We had Braylon Hintz, obviously getting Joe Thon over, Kevin, Coyne, Dominguez, that whole group, a lot of really talented young players, and they played good baseball all year. They were in it right up, until the end, but they were playing meaningful games pretty much the whole season. That's all you can really ask for. Sometimes, you make the tournament, sometimes you don't. But obviously a really exciting group of players. And we felt like those guys developed, got all the work they needed, and that staff did a tremendous job. So it was a really, really fun group.
Can't go any further without mentioning it. Kendall George had 100 stolen bases. He beat all of D. Gordon's records this year. Absolutely amazing. And so you don't necessarily need to talk about any individual because there's so many great players in the system. I don't want you to have to pick out one or two and leave a couple of other guys out. But can you just kind of go to speak, Esteury Ruiz led the PCL in stolen bases. Taylor Young was tied in the Texas League for stolen bases. Obviously, Kendall George, he led the Midwest League. Jaron Elkins led from start to finish, I think, in the Cal League in stolen bases. Can you talk about the dynamic element that it seems like the Dodgers really focused in on in the Dodger and the minor league system this past season?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think some of it just happens to be, it's personnel based.
Yeah.
We happen to have some guys who can really run within the organization. But I do want to shout out Jeff Salazar, our base running and outfield coordinator.
Okay.
He's had a huge impact on, over the past few years on our base running program. And that's something he and I really wanted to push. And that's coming, from the top down. Chris Woodward, conversations in the off season about how we could get better as an organization. And like you said, we have some burners, and we want those guys to be able to run the bases fearlessly in the minors. They're going to get thrown out sometimes, and we're okay with that. But as you mentioned, I guess we had a guy lead at every level, that's a pretty impressive thing. I actually didn't know that until you said that, just kind of focusing on the individual players. But, and it's not just stolen bases, but just think base running is a mindset and something when you're hopping off the bus, you want the other team to look over and say, all right, the Dodgers are in town. We're going to have to play our best baseball. So I think that's been a good shift mentality wise for the organization. And when your major league team is competing for championships every year, you can't make mistakes on the bases. You've got to be able to go up there and play fundamental baseball. So that has been something we pushed. So it's pretty cool to see, guys like KG, Quintero, TY, Ruiz. I mean, Elkins, unbelievable guys, being able to steal bases, but going first to third, scoring from home, making good reads, all the above is something that's really important to the organization. So I'm proud of, our group. I'm proud of Sally for pushing that. And then our affiliate coaches, I think base running is something you have to follow through on it. You can't just say, let's be good on the bases. It's a daily, It's a daily thing. So I'm really proud of our staff.
It's the special teams of baseball. You want to ignore your kicker and your punter until they screw up, right? I mean, we saw that in the World Series with even as fundamental, as awesome as the Jays were, 2 base running mistakes.
Yeah, no doubt. And you can look at, the Dodgers system as a whole. I think sometimes, we get a rap for, they throw hard and hit homers. And I think it's, we're a little more detailed than that. Obviously we love guys who throw hard and hit homers, but
not going to apologize for that part of it. No, definitely.
Yeah, there's more to it. And to win world championships, I don't care what anyone says about our major league roster. Those guys, they pay attention to details daily, and we want to kind of mirror that in the minor leagues.
People don't understand how hard it actually is to win a championship, even if you have the best team in this game. It's incredibly hard. So the AAA club could not have a better manager, period, in a discussion. Henny is absolutely, he's the mayor of Drillville for a reason. Of course, he's not in Drillville any longer. I just simply say he's the man. I mean, if you go back to Ark City, Kansas, at Cali County, and ask Lefty, who's the head coach there now, or Dave Burrows, guys that he went into the Hall of Fame with at Cali County, where they built that JUCO program, they'll just say, simply put, he's the man. So I got to say, you were in JUCO, so you know this as well as anybody. His JUCO experience at Cali, I think, plays a really big role with him being able to handle the AAA environment and professional environment all in all, because in JUCO, yes, your goal is to win, but it's also to move your guys onto a Division I guy, just like the pros are. So I think you have the perfect guy in Oklahoma City right now.
Yeah, obviously, Henny, he's been in the organization for a really long time. So we're grateful for his leadership. Obviously, the AAA level is a very unique one. And so for him to do what he did this year says a lot about him. And, we're just happy to have him. And, I just think it's really cool for, in his first year for us to be able to finish it off in the big leagues and win a title. He should feel, he's got his fingerprints all over that trophy. It may go a little unnoticed, but we know how much he contributes to the organization and that level in general. So, yeah, like you said, Henny's the man.
So how do you get such buy-in? Like you have 2 hitting coaches with Manny Burris and Dylan Nishotka. You have 2 pitching coaches in certain levels, that kind of deal. And so there could be an ego there. So how do you get such buy-in from one level to the next, maybe one coach to the next, to where it just doesn't matter who gets the credit? It just matters whether this player is developing or not. How do you get that kind of buy-in?
Yeah, I think the track record definitely helps. Over the past 11, 12 years, our major league team obviously is filled with superstars, but you and I both know development has played a huge role in those championships being won, whether it's via trade or guys getting up and contributing. So I think the track record definitely helps, but I just think it's a credit to the people in the organization and the way they go about their business. We take a lot of pride in being the most prepared. And then I think it's a collaboration piece between all the different departments. You've got performance science, research and development, you've got performance, medical, and then you've got your baseball departments. So I think it's a collaborative effort, and players see that when players see that many people working together to find one little small thing to unlock something for them, I think we get buy-in. So I think it's really just a testament to the work ethic. So like I said, I'm really proud of our staff. And I think like the secret people, what's the secret sauce? It's good people.
Oh, no kidding.
That's maybe cliche, but I really, really believe that. And since, Andrew Friedman came over, it's been an unbelievable ride. He obviously deserves a lot of credit, our front office, and just supporting from that level of the organization all the way down, to the lowest part of the minor leagues, we're getting support. So
seriously, with not just baseball, but any organization, have you ever seen an organization with this many people that has such a great culture, but really, I was talking to some managers and stuff, and they were like, you know what, from the bus driver to the managers to the players, I've never seen a Dodger player or anybody associated with the Dodgers ever have even a negative interaction with anybody, right? So have you ever seen an organization be able to create such a culture and environment like this organization that the Dodgers have been able to create? I've never seen it with my own eyes. It's incredible to watch.
100%. And like I said, taking, pride in getting coaches, hopefully they move on and have major league jobs elsewhere. We obviously have an amazing staff in the big leagues and haven't had a ton of turnover. So we want to develop those coaches. And at certain points over the past, 11, 12 years, we've had, difference making staff members leave, but the culture hasn't changed. So that says a lot about the leadership up top. And it's just a really great place to work.
Okay, some interesting questions here. What are some things? Of course, the Dodgers farm system has a reputation of being one of the best every year. And so what is one part of the reputation of the Dodgers farm system that you hear all the time that probably actually isn't true?
That's a good question. I guess I try not to listen to the outside noise too much.
I don't either.
But yeah, I don't know if you have anything. I honestly don't. I don't really know. I think I hit on it. The one thing I'd say I hit on it a little earlier, like the fact that we just hit bombs and throw gas. I just think that's not. If people want to think that, that's great. And obviously this past year we had the number one, offense, according to Baseball America, number one offense and pitching. So maybe that's partially true, but I think there's just a level of detail that people don't see, that we're trying to teach guys how to play the game the right way. Kind of like you said, like a little bit of a blue collar mindset. But we're obviously hunting the margins in all areas. Absolutely. And trying to be progressive, because that's part of what the organization does. But I don't know if you have anything specifically, and then I can try to answer it.
Yeah, I just think the spoiled aspect of it. I think there's, the Dodgers don't draft very high because they win so much, right? They end up with the Jackson Ferrises and the Zaire Hopes and the Mike Sorotas and guys like that because they're smart. They win on the margins. They pay attention to the margins. My one deal, and I try to say this as much as I possibly can, the Dodgers don't get credit for how well they do on the margins. Of course, we know they have the Shohei Ohtanis and the Zaire Hopes and the Josue De Pauls, the big recruited guys. But also, you have the Miguel Rojas's and the guys that play the roles and fill in all the margins. And those are the guys, to me, that have as big of an impact as anybody.
Yeah, that's well said. I think overall, our scouting department deserves a lot of credit. Like you said, we're not picking super high. So for the average baseball fan, don't realize what a good job we do developing, like you said, hunting the margins, whether it's an Edward Rios, Matt Beatty, that in the past that aren't high picks.
Well, how about a Max Muncy and a Chris Taylor that we invented?
100%. So finding value, I just think every player has value. So how do you find that value? What are they good at? And can you maximize that? And, if it turns into value at the major league level, great, but it may turn into value, somewhere else, whether that's a trade. Obviously we want all our guys to play for the Dodgers. That's just not realistic. So we want our guys to develop and play in the big leagues somewhere. If that, that ends up being in LA, great. But it's just not the case all the time. So,
okay. So one of the things you think the Dodgers system doesn't get enough credit for, what would you say that is?
I think it's, a lot of the industry wants to talk about like the top 30.
Yes.
You mentioned some names earlier, and I could mention, 20 different names, but I think the industry wants to talk about top prospects, who's in your top 10. But I think I just want to shout out our staff, because I think one of the things that separates us is our ability to give everybody attention. We obviously have a huge staff. We have maybe the biggest staff in development across baseball. And that's for a reason, because we're, like you said, we're trying to hunt the margins. So it doesn't matter whether it's our first pick or our 20th round pick. We're going to try to help that player become the best version of himself. So I think it's not just the top 30. We have really good players across the system. And you know what? Some players may only get to AA, right? Mm-hmm. Player X, player Y, they may not become major league players, but if their ceiling is to become, a player in high A or AA, and we help them reach that, then great. And you know what? A AA player is a really good baseball player. Mm-hmm. So I think taking pride in helping every player become the best version of themselves, I think is really important. So obviously, it's not just top 30. It's giving everybody attention and just caring about everybody, the same.
That's exactly how I try to give every player the equal amount. Hey, if you deserve it, if you earned it, you get it. It doesn't matter if you're one of the top prospects or not. So I think 100%. That's a great way to look at it. So, okay, couple quick questions here. I've held you a long time. I know you're super busy, Austin. Okay. Thank you so much for joining in. First of all, your manager at the complex level, Juan Apodaca, his son, have you ever seen his son take BP on the field?
I have.
Is he hitting bombs yet, like from home plate? I mean, he's like 11 years old.
I haven't seen him in a while, but man, he can really play.
That dude could absolutely drop. It's like you're going, okay, well, I don't want to like project on an 11-year-old, right? But if you ever were going to project an 11-year-old being a major leaguer, that guy is that guy, right?
Yeah, he can really play. I've seen him take ground balls too. It's incredible.
Okay, so for a guy like you who gets to work with all these different affiliates and you get to put your hand on all of these guys, you get to see an Andy Pages, who's your boy, by the way. I mean, he's like a second son to you because you managed him, I think, his first 3 years in the minor leagues, go make that huge catch. And guys like Jack Dreyer and Robo just go into hyper-competitive mode. What was it like for Austin Chubb to watch that last double play and watch the Dodgers go back-to-back?
Man, I got the chills when you said that. I mean, I think that's everything, man. Like, we exist in development to serve at the pleasure of our major league team. So ultimately their success is our success. Obviously, like I said, we want to help develop players and help them reach their goals and their dreams, whether that's with the Dodgers or with someone else. But at the end of the day, being able to see your major league team win the World Series is the ultimate goal. So I just, in development, maybe we're not there in person or touching the trophy with the team, but I think, like I said, like our fingerprints are on that trophy to some degree. And it's just really cool because, if you listen to the interviews closely, Friedman, Gomes, Doc, they'll mention player development, scouting. You've got all of these different departments ultimately pulling for the same end of the rope for the major league team. So I can't tell you how many times I've watched the replay of that double play, and my wife's she's over it at this point, but I can't stop watching it. And just thinking back, I was trying to think about what can we learn to teach our minor league players from this championship.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch the series, if you look at that series, it's pretty easy to say. I don't know if the Dodgers had any business, if we had any business winning that series, other than sheer belief in one another and just like the intangible piece,
no doubt,
to the game.
The culture.
100%. So it's just, a team hits 203 in a series and wins the series. It's because, it was an amazing series for baseball. And it was cool to see the viewership, obviously having a team in Canada and another country, and then you've got the Japan piece.
Yeah.
But I feel like baseball's in a pretty good place. And, obviously somebody working in the game, that's great. But for the growth of the game, that's awesome. But yeah, it was just an amazing series, and that means everything.
All right, last question here. You coached Andy Pages in the DSL. You coached him at Ogden back when they had the rookie ball there in the Pioneer League. And then you also coached him at Great Lakes. So you literally was his manager for his first 3 professional seasons. You guys are as tight as can be. And so how much has the communication kind of dwindled since he's become a major leaguer? Is it still like every day, hey, what's up, bro? How we doing? That kind of thing.
We obviously still keep in touch. I tend to be on the side of just letting guys do their thing. I don't want to bother them. I know how busy, you're playing 162 games, you get in a routine. So we'll obviously keep in touch. It's fun being around him in spring training, but obviously just really proud more than the player, to watch him from when he was an immature 17-year-old grow into, a husband, a good teammate, and then obviously the skill set on the field, but to see him develop as a human being it's been honestly one of the joys of my career so far.
Yeah, still awesome just that he went and caught that ball too, man. and went over Kike. Unbelievable. Austin Chubb, what a great job you've done. What an awesome dude you are. Thank you for joining again here on Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. It is a huge honor to get to catch up with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for how much you follow our players and try to build them up. Thanks for doing that.